So then he said to me, he said, if you don't comply, I will turn you into a dodecahedron. So then I said to him, joke's on you. That's my kink.
Well, this is an awkward erection.
Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Adequate. Our ongoing mission until we are cancelled and replaced by something far superior. To review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. To seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go where very many other Star Trek-based YouTube shows have gone before. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody out there in the internet sphere. I am Captain Goodwill, and this is Trekking Up North. And joining me, as ever, is the Geesian from the planet Hank, Science Officer Synoiz. Good evening, Synoiz. It's really funny because Synoiz's communication system cancels out his innate ramblings. So all we see is...
Is any of it coming through?
Nope,
Is it...
absolutely nothing.
I love that my thing just goes like, yeah, that is too loud. I'll do it quietly.
It's not noise cancellation, it's noise cancellation.
Noise cancellation. That's like me saying, fuck the Tories.
Hey!
Hey! Fuck the Tories.
Limited income. Let's go.
Just say, May would say, get backed. Hello, everyone. Yes, I exist.
How are you?
Ooh, he's on the booze tonight. Ooh, look at you having a bit of a booze up.
What do you mean I'm on the booze? I'm on the passion fruit martini.
What are you celebrating? It couldn't possibly be a successful living room.
I am celebrating
that's
because...
like me cheating at Scrabble by changing all the I's to A's because that's all I've got in my hand. Living room.
Living room. I am celebrating because my living room is now complete.
It's an important distinction there.
It's very important.
One of them's wipe clean and one of them's a sex dungeon.
Much like stuff on the Enterprise B, the sex wing comes on Tuesday. The yes, for those who follow me on their Twitter /X/ Elon Musk's bathroom sink, they would have seen a very large delivery I took yesterday of 2 vans worth of IKEA stuff.
I love that my mind immediately looked at Lee in the chat as you were saying very wide delivery, and I was just like,
Lee's got a 14-inch. Yes. Yes. So someone's shouting. Good grief. So the first van came and he just delivered exclusively the doors for my wardrobe, and then the second van came and I went, how many boxes have you delivered? And he went, this is all you. And it was 53 boxes worth of IKEA, to the point where it could not fit into my house. So the front facade of my house was a litany of MDF and cardboard. And I was like, I don't know where to put it all.
That is actually great. Please tell me they at least sort of littered loads of meatballs around, so you got like the full IKEA experience.
No, but there was a lot of Swedish fish. But yeah, but the living room is complete. Tidy it is not, but it is complete. I do have a very Star Trek themed framed lithograph that I will be displaying proudly and that I will show everyone in due course once it's actually well hung highly. But
I love that he's just like immune to it. It's like when we put the poll up earlier, everyone
much like
when I asked Lee to put the poll up, Lee was just like sort of, I put the poll up, hardy ha, and I'm just like, thanks, Daddy. And it's just like it's this thing where his girlfriend must just be like, yeah.
His girlfriend's accepted it now. It's not even a love triangle; it's a love dodecahedron. So
speaking of
dodecahedron, let's have a look at the chat. We've got Beth, we've got Lee, we've got Adam, the lovely 146.78 centimeter tall Me centimetre?
That is 15 foot and 8 inches of pure love muscle.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's just his massive. And hello to Christopher, the king of Nerdy Up North for this month. We've got Captain's Quadrant. We've got Joe in the Voyager theme. Yes, Joe, we always have the Voyager theme because we love Janeway and we love her views on murder. We have also we've got David, the sexiest background acting Canadian that we have, and
Spicy Demon.
Spicy Demon.
Spicy Demon.
Oh, zut alors. Sorry, you're not in shit, Canada. Oh my God, Mark Cartier has just popped into the chat. Good morning. Why does Mark sense alcohol and then just join the chat?
He's just like.
It's kind of.
I love the idea. Mark's just sort of sitting wherever he is, like a public park.
Where is Mark today?
Yeah, where is Mark?
Let's play
Mark,
that game.
Where are you?
Where are you
is this
today?
being taken
Are you at a Walgreens? Are you at a Bed Bath and Beyond? Could you be in some sort of dumpster in Burbank? Let's find out, shall we?
I just love the idea. He's just like, I'm on a ship sailing into the moon. Like, okay, Mark. But,
I'm going to create a new segment.
The air and he's like,
I'm gonna create a new segment, and it's just gonna be us just singing "Where's Mark today?"
Yeah.
And he's just
He's
just gonna comment, just say, "I'm in a parking lot." That was "Where's Mark today?"
That's it. It should be like the Family Guy thing, where it's like, it's raining sideways. It's just that. It's on a tiny little thing. Hello, Mark. How are you doing?
Hello, everybody. We are here yet again to review an original series episode of Star Trek. The Dabo Wheel giveth, and the Dabo Wheel taketh away.
Yeah, I think what we realized is the Dabo Wheel always giveth, but then doesn't giveth goodeth. You know, so we were just a bit like, oh God, not this again. But I will admit that
I had my hopes.
After the last episode we had, where I was very, very critical about that original series episode and stuff, and it's hilarious seeing that Joe and Captain's Quadrant are doing it as well.
Requiem for Methuselah.
Yeah, where I was just like, I have nothing nice to say about this.
I saw that and I just commented and I just went, oh.
Well, Ben's crying and out.
Oh.
But yeah, and then we got like the motion picture, which I was very harshly critical of. So actually, I'm gonna say it. This is a great episode. I really, really liked this episode. Like, it was thrills and spills and chills. It was really good, and I think it's quite good because I think going forward we're reducing the possibility of the original series coming up until we've given a fair hearing to the other series. I think.
Well, I did have hopes.
Quite a good farewell to the original series for the moment.
I did have hopes for this week. Not mentioning it in any particular show. At all, but I did have hopes. But no, this was a good original series episode, and it leaves a lot of doors open for future incarnations of Star Trek to sort of explore this alien race. And rest assured, Treks and Trekkers out there in the Trekkosphere, we do have a poll, and when the poll closes, whenever that may be, we will give you the results. But it is on the Nerdy Up North Twitter. I have retweeted it, and it is on the Nerdy Up North Discord that you can subscribe to free of charge to explore all of our degeneracies and all of our kinks. But yes,
I do like that we put the poll out because we were kind of panicking. We were trying to work out what the poll was going to be. And my big thing is I don't want to have a poll that's a yes or no. I think there's something inherently boring about that.
yes.
So we were trying to think of because it was like, oh, are the Kelvins like good villains? Yes or no? And I'm like, that's boring. Should Kirk have blown up the ship? Yes or no? Oh, it's kind of boring. Because we find out that if he had blown the ship up, it wouldn't have worked. So it would
Star Trek would have ended in 1967.
Yeah. So what we did instead was we panicked and basically went, oh, let's put a poll up of which is your favorite Kelvin out of the 4 of them. And then after I'd sent that and we'd sent it to print effectively and Goodwill had done it, I continued watching the episode the second time round and then went, There's fucking 5 of them. But yeah, so basically.
But there was a
fuck
get out
Drea.
clause. There was a get out clause because Twitter only allows 4, so that's
does it?
fine. So
Okay, well, we would have been buggered anyway.
that is my get out of jail free card for that one because Elon Musk's site is broken. So
if your favorite Kelvin was Drea,
why?
It wasn't. It wasn't. Pick another. Spin
what was
again.
your favorite Kelvin? The one that just went. Okay.
No, she has some good bits. I will admit,
she
does
pushed
have
the
some
button
good
on her
bits.
belt.
She's the one at the end who's just like, what? What?
Yeah.
We're surrendering. What?
We're surrendering. We're only 3 hours into our 300-year journey.
That's it. So I quite like Drea, but yeah, we forgot about it. So sorry.
Yeah.
So
So
that's what you get for having no dialogue until like the last 20 minutes.
we are reviewing the season 2 episode of the original series by any other name. Long story short, shall we give a nice brief synopsis of this? Where Kirk and the away team arrive onto a planet because they picked up a distress signal. The distress signal comes from these humans, which turn out to not be humans, but they are Kelvins. But not the Kelvins you're thinking of. Not those Kelvins. They're Kelvins.
no.
These are Kelvans. These are different ones. Why are they different? Because they are from another galaxy. And they hijack the Enterprise because apparently the Enterprise is the easiest goddamn ship in Starfleet to hijack. And it's a
Well, at least it's not Spock this time.
this
At
time.
least it's someone other than Spock taking the Enterprise for a joyride.
It does make a change. But they are hijacking the Enterprise to take it to the Andromeda Galaxy. And I was like, ooh, this is so good. I rewatched this today. I haven't watched it for about a year and a half. And I forgot how good it actually was and how good the Kelvins were. And like I said at the top of the episode, this is a race I want to see come back.
Yeah.
I really do.
I didn't realize this because I was positive that they got referenced again. Like I knew it in my head, and then when I looked online, I was like, "Nah, all they get is they get mentioned by Worf." I think in DS9, like he goes, "Oh, I fought a Kelvin once," and you're just like, "Okay,
all
well,
4 of
how?"
them.
There's only 4. There's 5 of them. Like we're forgetting Drea.
That's not a
again.
sustainable gene pool. Have you not met Dr. Pulaski? She would freak out at this. She'd be like, "There's only 5 of you. There's not
like,
enough
"Well,
banjos
I
for
better get
inbreeding."
That's what Pulaski would have been like.
Really, really short plug on this. First tangent of the night, yay. I recorded an episode with Unplanned Trek last Saturday with It's Got Trek, and we reviewed the TNG Season 2 episode. The one, the name escapes me because I'm on the martinis.
You did just review it.
Yeah, but... Yeah.
Not to pressure.
I'm inhaling MDF fumes currently, but I love the smell of wood. Hi, Lee. So it was the one where they beam up the Irish. Why the Irish we don't know, but essentially beam up one planet in order to relocate them and blah 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 blah. And is there a place where you could go?
Space Irish.
The Space Irish. Is there a place where I could go wash my feet? No, but there's a place where you can take out the Irish accent because it's not needed.
I have to say, I'm actually willing to give that possibly the worst episode of Trek award. Like I'm genuinely just like, what happened? What is this? Just
why do they have to be
describe to
Irish?
me how this occurred.
Why do they have to be Irish? Why not? But yeah, it's where Dr. Pulaski is going on about the whole cloning issue. We essentially distilled it down to the superior race that were using cloning technology. They were just all essentially living in an iPod that were addicted to bowling. And then they all had to have the sex with the Irish people. But then Dr. Pulaski's like, "Ooh, they better start making babies." And when I was watching By Any Other Name, all I could think of was Dr. Pulaski in that episode, just going, there's not enough people to screw. How are they going to survive? But
there's so many questions about it though, which is the idea of they're like, "Hey, we're going to survive for 300 years." And you're just like, can you reproduce
How
when
can
you're sort of
sex...
pretending to be a human? Or
Also,
like,
also as well, this is the proto hentai beginnings of
this is
tentacle
literally the sort of.
fetishes.
I'm willing to say this is the what was it called? When they were looking for like the missing link. That was it. The missing link between sort of Neanderthals and humans. Like this is the missing link between like Lovecraftian, like eldritch horror and hentai.
Are you telling
is
me? Are you
that
telling
is
me
what this is?
that 60 years ago, some lovely Japanese person watched by any other name and just went, 100 tentacles. And that was the beginning of it.
He was just writing then. He's like, oh my biro won't work anymore. The page is too soggy.
They have 100 tentacles and they could work autonomously. I know. I mean, yeah. Really funny, guys. Really funny, guys. Right. So on my notes, I've got it in bold. Right, 100 tentacles, and then when I got to that scene in the episode, I said Synoiz a voice.
Yes, we are in a
back.
highly serious mood.
Hang on. Am I back?
Are you back? Did we go?
I think he died. I think OBS died. Oh no!
Oh no! Ooh.
Are we back? Yes, we are back.
Are we back? Okay, see that's what happened. We mentioned the H word on YouTube, and then miraculously things.
This is what guys.
Trying to monetize us.
Conspiracy time. This is what happened. When we say something that YouTube's like, oh, I don't know, we suddenly have connection issues. So I'm just like, okay, we'll stay away from that. We're already demonetized, so what the hell?
They let me get away with fuck the Tories, though. So
well, I mean,
YouTube, I think that.
I think the Lib Dems. So,
okay, but yes. So I thought it was a great episode. I think it's one of these things where the first time I watched it, I was like, whoa, this is actually great. It had me on the edge of my seat. It's got this great sort of like, it's actually quite scary, if we're perfectly honest, because this is one of the first times that like the crew of the Enterprise are just humbled. Like literally they have an enemy that they can't do anything about, and that none of their actual usual, like, their strength, their technology, their logic, like, their medicine won't help. It's that they are just, the Kelvins are just too powerful, and it kind of makes the episode fairly scary. And the flow of it is wonderful because it basically goes, oh my god, oh danger, like it's a bit of a thriller, like for the first half, and then it has this sweet spot where it just becomes comedy, where it becomes really funny at the end, and it is this wonderful release, I think, because I got kind of stressed when obviously like they take over the Enterprise and the crew sort of being transmogrified, I guess. And so it was like, when it actually becomes a bit comedy and like resolves itself, you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, well done, Trek.
It's really interesting because the premise is essentially these Kelvins have traveled from the Andromeda Galaxy. It was a 300-year journey for them because they are highly advanced. Whereas conventional warp drive, it would take thousands of years because the Andromeda Galaxy is like really fucking far away. But essentially, the Andromeda Galaxy within 10 millennia will be so irradiated, like the radiation levels will be so high that it will be nigh on impossible for any sort of life to exist in it. Whether or not this is real, I've not really looked into it, because I do believe there is some sort of science that they say that the radiation levels in the Andromeda Galaxy are like very high. I don't know.
How would they know though?
Because they can do spectrometer measurements of the Andromeda Galaxy. But
okay. What is it? It's green.
It's green. Oh, right. So that's the spectrum, is it? All right. Okay. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. I'm purple. So
I love the idea that they're just like, I think the Andromeda Galaxy is autistic. Like, no, you're using the wrong spectrum to judge it
No,
on.
this is a different one. But no, so the Andromeda Galaxy within 10 millennia will be so irradiated, no life will be able to survive there. So the Kelvin Empire, which has completely dominated this galaxy, is looking to essentially migrate to another galaxy. So they sent 4 ships out to 4 different neighboring galaxies in order to survey for conquering and well, not colonization, but essentially conquer and inhabit. These were sent to the Milky Way galaxy. Their ship was damaged,
and they fuck it up.
Yeah, but this is really good because this is an episode of Star Trek, the original series, that follows on from another episode of Star Trek, the original series, which was very rare in the original series because the Kelvins enter the galactic barrier, which is an energy field which surrounds the Milky Way galaxy. Their ship was damaged and they crash landed on this planet. So Kirk says, "Oh yes, we experienced this previously," and I'm like, "Wow, that's like a massive callback, not to like an earlier episode. That's like episode 2 technically, where no man has gone before, which is like it's really good that they've done a callback to that." So in order to get back to the Kelvin Empire, these 5 beings fought because 5 doesn't really matter. Essentially hijack the Enterprise, take over, and then modify the engine so they can do the 300-year journey back. And it's really terrifying.
And get through the barrier.
But it is really terrifying because it shows how it's advanced for its time because the writers were going, okay, so we've got an enemy, but this is an enemy from another galaxy. So they have different laws. They are highly advanced. Everything is different over there. They could essentially have technology that no one in our galaxy has ever heard of, therefore making it super easy to incapacitate the crew and hijack the Enterprise and modify the Enterprise for the journey home. And we see within like the first 10 minutes of the episode, they incapacitate the away team and they hijack the Enterprise like that.
Before the actual beginning of before the credits have been on, they have managed to capture the Enterprise, which is like how crazy the threat the Kelvins pose.
A crew of 400 is taken over by 3 people.
Yeah.
That is terrifying that 3 people have gone on board.
And I think the best thing is, like, how are we doing this? We're not doing a scene-by-scene thing.
No, we're not doing
it. We just generally... Okay, cool. But it's the idea that they managed to take over the Enterprise, like, and then when Kirk's like, oh, but the Federation will, like, sort of, they'll be able to stop you. And he's like, I'll just take them over exactly the same way I took your ship over.
It's the way he says.
It's scary because you know that they could.
It's the way he says, because you know that this supposed Kelvin Empire is vast and completely in dominance of the Andromeda Galaxy, because he goes, the Kelvin Empire does not colonize, we conquer. So Kirk actually, for a change in our last few weeks of episodes, he's actually a good captain, because he goes, you don't need to do any of this. We can take your case to the Federation, we can survey planets, and your civilization can essentially migrate to these suitable planets, and we can deal with it. And the first terrifying aspect, apart from the Enterprise being taken over in 10 minutes, we don't colonize, we conquer. And it's sort of, it's amazing confidence for this person to go, yeah, we don't actually need your help. We can just easily take over this galaxy like that.
And I think it's quite good because Trek doesn't usually have antagonists like this. Where they just straight up go, why would I want to negotiate when I can just conquer you? Why would I want to sort of do this the nice way when we could just take it? And I don't know. I don't think I think
the Borg in certain aspects is sort of like that, but they don't have the level of not logic, but there's no confidence.
Yeah, it's the fact of this is a guy who can be reasoned with and chooses not to, rather than the Borg who are just like, we don't understand that. Like, we don't know why that works.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite wonderful. I will say, though, what we see in the first scene is the best thing, because we have 2 things that happen in the first scene that I love, which is basically immediately we see the crew and there's 2 red shirts and we're just sitting there being like, when?
Yeah, when?
When? You know, like...
Ironically, for this episode, guys, I did consider putting on my red shirt in honor, but no.
I should have cosplayed as a dodecahedron.
I discovered the iron, so I found it in the pile of MDF. But yeah, so we get to see their display of power later on, because obviously they take Kirk and E-18 prisoner.
Well, what they do is the way that they beat everyone is that they have this little device on their belts, and when they basically turn it on, it creates a field around them.
In the screen there.
Oh yeah, in the screen. There, yeah. They create a field around them that basically neutralizes everyone's like what is it?
As it says,
voluntary muscles.
Right there in the screen again on the bridge.
Yep. So they neutralize nerve impulses to the voluntary muscles. That basically means no one is allowed to actually move themselves. Like their bodies are still continue. They can breathing and stuff are still going. Well, here's the thing that I noticed. Kirk is the only one blinking. And this is because William Shatner is like, but I must be doing something at all times. Everyone else, like while they're frozen, doesn't blink and keeps totally still. And Kirk is literally like, you know, this thing of just going, I know you're on screen, Shatner, but you don't need to Shatner it. You know? It's the whole...
Shatner.
but I think it's quite good. Although my favorite bit in the first scene, we literally have what's it, Yeoman Thompson, who's the female red shirt, and she does a thing where she's got the sensor and she's just like, Captain, there's 2 life forms walking towards us, and then they literally appear behind her, and I'm like, have you tried just looking around rather than the scanner? Because it's so immediate. Like she's looking, being like, they're in the goddamn walls, and it's just like you could just look around and be like, oh, there's people over there.
Don't ruin the magic of Studio 18 and its limited walls. They had a pond.
I loved it though.
So they get taken prisoner. The Enterprise is taken over. They can't break through the prison because the bars are like a material they've never seen before. Because obviously,
Spock says it's like dibrenium. Yeah, it says it's like it's a stronger than dibrenium. And is this ever mentioned again? This material that they have, or is it just something that? See, I will say I love this episode, but as the second time I watched it, the amount of plot holes. There are so many. This is like a Doctor Who episode where you just go, wait, what? How did actually? Could you explain that? You know, like...
It is very loosey-goosey with its science, but then again, it's not Doctor Who.
You could explain it, I think. Yeah. I think it's a sort of thing of, it feels like, none of it's impossible. None of it's like Deus Ex Machina. It's all kind of like, oh, you could do there could be a Lower Decks episode filling this out.
I actually did.
Orions and stuff.
Yeah, I actually did later on when they head into the galaxy, and I'm just like, well, it could be this, and I'm just like, you really need to see daylight. But so Spock tries, in order to try and break free, Spock tries to mind meld with one of the Kelvins
through a wall.
Kalinda. And he gets overwhelmed. We think it's a repel attack, but he's actually that overwhelmed from what he experiences, he gets knocked to the other side of the cave.
Mm. And then Kalinda kind of, it's quite good because it kind of shows her being like, oh, what's this? And then she immediately opens the prison doors, runs in, and Kirk sort of beats her up effectively.
Judo chop!
Judo chops her, and then she falls to the ground, and then he takes the device off her. So it technically worked because she was being dumb. But then we get the scariest thing. Now, this is a wonderful scene because
I love this scene.
We don't know, like the whole thing is basically they just have the things on their belts. And I was watching the first time being like, why don't they just beat them up? Because if you just hold their arms away, then they can't actually activate the device to freeze you, and then you can just punch them and knock them out. But I think the thing here is they don't work like humans because they're not humans. Like they've got the shells of humans, but inside they're crazy octopus things with like all these tentacles and stuff. And it's the idea of like Kirk judo chops her and she falls to the ground, but she doesn't actually get knocked out. She's just playing for she's just playing it because it looks like they actually wanted them to escape because they knew they'd try, purely so that they can do the next scene, which is to give them a lesson, which is a brutal lesson. But I think it shows how how brutal the Kelvins are. Like they're just kind of going, yeah, we need to show you what's going to happen, and so we've put you in a situation in order for you to make a mistake in order to,
because naturally, with the original series, as all things should be, the two people sacrificed as punishment are the red shirts. So they take the security officer and they take Yeoman Thompson.
Does the security officer ever get a name?
I can't remember. I couldn't
see
one.
All he does is get shot down, and every time he opens his mouth, Kirk shoots him down.
Yeah, I'd like to rip them apart.
We need to do something about the guard, and he's like, "Calm down," and then he's just like,
"Well, he's like, he's going to rip a woman apart," and you're just like, "Dude, like, chill."
I do quite like it though that like Kirk's just like, no, just don't.
It's a woman. I will deal with her later. But so Rohan has to make an example.
I think,
Rojan or Rohan.
Rojan, yeah,
depends. Has to make.
Does Gondor call for aid?
Yes, and he never comes. So he has to make an example. So he takes Hanar takes these two to a hill, and this is the first time we see these two people get turned into dodecahedron sponges, which is very slightly terrifying because Rohan explains that this is essentially the essence of a human, all the brain, all the feeling, everything like that.
Yeah,
and he just fucking crushes one of them. And
it's his whole idea. It's effectively what he does is he uses his device. Well, the other one, who's it? Hanar. Hanar uses the device.
Can we just call it a Tammy belt?
The Tammy belt. He uses his bum bag. Yeah, it's funny.
He uses his Tammy belt that he got from Tammy in 2001. It's still got the double A's in, and
yeah, he uses Tammy belt. And effectively, it's basically like zip archiving a human being. So what they do is they turn a human into this little dodecahedron thing, but then they say, "Oh, we can like uncompress them, we can unzip them or untar them, whatever, back into a human." And then he's like, "But not if we do this," and then crushes one of them, and then basically goes, "This person is dead."
Are you saying, Science Officer Synoiz, that the Kelvins have bought a license for WinRAR and they are using it for reckless abandon? All right,
the pop-up still appears, being like, "You are using a trial." But did you not see it in the episode?
We compressed filed a human.
Did you not see it where he does that? Where he turns, he gets the red shirts and he makes them into the dodecahedrons, and then the pop-up appears saying, "Thank you for trying WinRAR." And they just immediately clicked X on it, like every other sane person in the universe.
Where is Uhura? She is a zip folder.
Yeah. Alan, go on. We need to contact Earth. Unzip Uhura. Oh my. Yes. This is.
Oh my god.
I didn't really think about that before. Okay. We need to get past this. Okay. But yeah, so they have the two red shirts have been zipped. Rojan crushes one of them and kills him. And obviously Kirk's really annoyed because he's just like, "But that was the fit one.
There's no recycle bin, you bastard."
Yeah, it's like, no. Oh, the zip archive was corrupted.
Oh my god.
But yeah, and that was the end of poor Yeoman Thompson. And it's always annoying because it's
terrifying though.
It's like the rules. It's always the scared one who's the one who dies. Because it's like we got in Strange New Worlds in David's episode, where it's like the rookie who's just like, "Oh, I don't want to die. I don't want to be in the army anymore."
But when they unzip,
and then they die, and you're like, "Oh."
When they unzip the security.
When they unzip the security,
when they extract all of his files to a local drive, and he's just like, "Right, are you going to kill me?" And he doesn't know. Like, no time has passed for him at all.
Yeah.
And it's like,
hold on, do files not know when they're in zip folders?
Probably not. This is a Vic Fontaine issue. This.
Whoa, that's weird. I'm gonna have to do we need to spend more time with our unzipped files?
See you later, Mark.
Okay,
Have a great day,
here
Mark.
is,
It's
see you, Mark.
But it's. I got very strong, and I know I'm probably high from paint fumes still. Red Dwarf vibes from the pilot episode, where he's like, "They're all dead, Dave," and they're just piles of ash on the seat.
Yeah.
Especially when you see them on the Enterprise.
I think this is the weird thing about this episode, because I did find it actually horrifying. Like, I did actually go, "Whoa, this is really scary." That the crew, because what happens is once they eventually get to the ship, and we're speeding ahead a bit. Once they eventually get to the ship, they basically just go, "Hey, we don't need the rest of the crew," and they all like compress them all and turn them into dodecahedrons. And it's scary seeing characters like Chekhov and like Uhura basically turned into these blocks that could be destroyed at any moment.
It's good direction as well. It's good direction from the director of this episode to show the fear on these crew members' faces, because they don't know at this point. They don't know that they can be turned back.
I think it's the fear, but also the bravery, because no one's screaming out or anything.
Nope.
Like, they are all very well trained Starfleet officers, and I think that's great. But you can see that they're terrified, but you can see that they're sort of going with it. But it's also that scary thing of like, only Star Trek could make something this kind of dumb very scary, because effectively we are going, people get turned into geometric shapes. Like, they get turned into something that people spend far too much money on in B&M bargains, effectively, in the homeware section. Like, you know, or a weird thing. If it had a Swedish name, it could be IKEA.
Are you saying that they obviously compress their files to a zip format and then turn them into bath bombs?
Oh, fucking hell, the entire crew get bath bombed. The entire crew got lushed.
You don't want to mess with me, Kirk. I've been to your lush, and just drops Uhura into a tub and just sees her dissolve.
Oh my god, it's so beautiful. Oh, it smells of roses. By any other name.
Vanilla and tobacco. That must be Chekhov.
That's it. What does Scotty smell of? Whiskey and shit.
Whiskey and battered Mars bars. Oh my god.
But yes, so that's it. But no, it is quite great though that the episode manages to make it actually kind of threatening. Yes. The idea of being turned into these little blocks kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, where were we? They escape from the ship, they get the demonstration, and then they get put back in prison, and then they go, "Hey, we just escaped and that didn't work. What should we do now? Let's try and escape in a different way."
Well, it's novel, and I wanted to ask you about this because I don't think I've ever seen this before again from a Vulcan. Spock puts himself into an involuntary coma.
Yeah.
Apparently, he
hypnols himself.
Much like goats when they are startled, where they just knock themselves out. Spock is like an alien goat where he can just go, "All right, Spock out," and then just coma himself. I've never seen this.
Vulcans are like goats. Like, what if they see something shocking that they can't logically comprehend, like Lee's tackle, where they just like, they immediately just see it and then they just go like. But no. I do quite like though that this is when I'm gonna keep on with the Doctor Who sort of similarities where the sonic screwdriver that they introduced with David Tennant's Doctor, where just every week it did something new that had never been mentioned before and will never be mentioned again. That's device. Effectively what Spock is in the original series. They're like, we need someone to do this impossible thing. Oh, Spock's a Vulcan, he'll have that ability. Like, oh, he's got super strength, yeah. Oh, he's got psychic powers. Oh, he can lower his metabolism, and oh, he can survive super temperatures. And you're just like, Spock just does everything required for the episodes, and then the later seasons have to be like, they kind of can do all this.
Well, I mean,
shit.
The one unique feature for Spock is when he does mind meld, there is a really sick bass line that comes through. It's like boom, 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 and I'm just like, yeah, I'm fucking down with that.
It's a funky mind meld, like.
So he fakes being in a coma. they
Is
say
this ever used again?
no.
Do we
This is the
ever
thing.
see
I've never seen
Hawkins
this
ever
track.
do this?
I don't think I've
I mean,
ever seen
'cause
it again.
I've got that as one of my questions, I think. But yeah, so he forces himself into a coma, and then they get Haynar in, who's the guard at the time, and they go, Spock's ill. And I love it because Haynar basically just kind of comes up and he's just like, that's come on awfully quick. And I love that Haynar's just like, seems a bit sus,
Yeah, but I mean, it's an enemy with common sense.
Yeah, and that's what's so good, that they are the Kelvins in this episode are so well rounded. They all have names, they all have personalities, they all have intentions, and that's what makes the writing so good. They're
Except
not
the fifth
just
one.
faceless evil ones. Who? But yeah, and I just love the Haynar. It's just like, is he though?
Yeah, I love that, but that gets him onto the Enterprise. They fake, well, he needs a few shots, and he's got Rigelian Cassandra fever.
What is it? Rigelian Cassandran fever, and even Chapel's just like, what the fuck are you saying?
Who's Cassandra?
Who's she?
And
who is she?
Remember, because Spock.
Where do you get her from? I've forgotten the line.
You've been on Riser, haven't you? You slut. But it's so that they get onto the Enterprise, and then Rohan explains. Obviously, they are all.
You've gone back to Rohan.
Rojan.
It will answer the call.
I'm sorry. I am British. Therefore, the J is always silent. So.
You're going Spanish, though. You're making it into like, what is it?
I'm sorry. I'm Spanish. Therefore, the J is always silent. But yeah, they all have to be on board the Enterprise because there's going to be this massive 300-year journey to the Andromeda Galaxy so that they can let the Kelvin Empire know that this galaxy is ripe for conquering. Why can't you just send a signal? Galactic barrier. Hooray for plot devices. So
is the galactic barrier ever done ever again?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Because I'm obviously I dodged the original series, so I kind of just went like, what is this? Like how where they
do you want to know when it was referenced again?
Away, and I'm just like, how big are the quadrants?
Do you want to know when it was referenced again?
No.
Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, no wonder how
could I possibly
have missed that?
Anyway, yeah. So they're all beaming up, and they need obviously the humans' help to operate the Enterprise during this journey. It's because they arrived at the Milky Way in a multi-generational ship. They will travel back in the Enterprise, which will be a multi-generational ship. And I'm just like, how can Screw?
Yeah, how can Screw?
How can reproduce?
How can conquer? It's a weird one though, because you just kind of like, so they arrive as like tentacle beasts, and then they go, oh, we need to steal a human ship. Okay, well, we need to transform ourselves into humans so that we can pilot this human ship. And you're like, okay, weird leap of logic there. Oh, but also we still need humans to pilot this human ship. And I'm like, why not tentacle beast?
But this is the thing. This is the plot hole that you were referring to. They are beings with 100 tentacles. Oh, whoa! They could control like 5 people could easily manage engineering helm control.
Yeah,
easily they can do.
I quite like though that the Kelvins are basically the Martians from The Simpsons.
But if the Enterprise can be nicked, in Star Trek 3 with 4 people, with 2 hands each, jazz hands.
Well, I just love the idea that Drea is the only one doing all the work. Like Drea, they don't even need the other 3 Kelvins. They just need Drea because she's the only one who's like, yeah, I'll pilot the ship. I'll just take over these people. Sorry,
I mean, once they get out of the galactic barrier, which they do break quite easily, but we'll get to that. She's literally just sat there, and I'm like, right, how much course correction needs to be done in the void of space between the Milky Way and Andromeda? Because we can clearly see Andromeda. You know where you're going. Why do you need to make minor course corrections?
I have a weird feeling there might be planets in the way. In the
void, there's no stars.
Is there not?
No, it's a void.
Ah,
Yeah.
this is my
Yeah.
absolute lack of knowledge about space.
Play Mass Effect, you'll realise it's a void.
No, I'll play Starfield, then I can experience the joy of 8 minutes with nothing to interact with as I move between locations.
Play Starfield, you'd understand what a void actually means. Literally, a
Oh, I found a
void.
bug. Yay.
A void.
Content.
Don't
There we
play
go.
Starfield. Yeah, they reach Warp 11, and me, with my Trekkie brain, I was like, oh, yes, this is pre when they reconverted the warp factors, where Warp 10 was the ultimate speed, and this was previous to what they did in the Generations, where it was Warp 5 is actually Warp 7, and Warp 8. And I'm just like, I really need to go out in the daylight and stop huffing paint.
I didn't know about this. So what is it? So Warp 11 is actually like Warp 9 or something?
They changed, in Trek canon, they changed the warp factor scale.
Yeah.
So actually, when they say the Enterprise is traveling at like warp 8, it's actually warp 7 and this, that, and the other. So when they say they're traveling at warp 11, it's actually like warp 9 or 9.99.
Okay.
And then
I mean, this is what I find quite interesting, though. Obviously, the Kelvins changed the ship round, so we can kind of say, oh, they've made it faster and they've made it able to get through the galactic barrier.
Yeah.
Is that ever used again? Like, surely the Enterprise gets back and goes, hey, we've got souped up engines. We should probably tell the Federation how to do this.
Never again.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, time to delete these modifications that would have been useful.
It's really interesting because obviously it's a really good, and this is what I was saying to you earlier on in a voice note, it would be a really good, like a little mini-series or an anthology, because at the end of the episode, Spock says, oh, we'll send a robot envoy to the Andromeda Galaxy with our proposals from the Federation. And I'm like, it would be really fucking awesome if like we had a mini-series where we see this robot ship 300 years in the future arrive at the Andromeda Galaxy, and then 300 years later, the Andromedas, the Kelvins arrive.
Yeah.
I would really, really love to see that.
I think it'd be quite good. Do you reckon they would be evil? Like, would they be an antagonist? Because they start off with the, the thing of we conquer.
Or, here we go. Have they already been defeated by someone superior? And then they return to the Milky Way galaxy. I like that.
I think it's good though. But this is the wonderful thing, and this is why I really like Lower Decks, that it basically looks at all of these little sort of, hey, we never actually followed up on that in Trek, and then kind of just goes, yeah, go on then, let's follow up on it.
I think it would be really good. Personally, if Paramount, who's in the process of essentially being bought out by whoever is the highest bidder.
Hopefully someone who will be better at Trek than Paramount.
Yeah, if they do expand and they do these miniseries, because a miniseries is all that's needed. That's all that's needed. You could have 3 episodes of this, like an hour and a half each, and be done with it. Where it's in the, what was it, 600 years, should we say, round trip. So 22, 25, so that'd be the 26th century that they arrive. And then 300 years back, so that's the 29th century that they arrived back.
Yeah.
And then they could take it from the 29th century, because that's obviously the era of Daniels and USS Relativity from Voyager and stuff like that. Be really interesting to pick up that. Goodwill said doo-doo. Oh, Christopher, thank God you came.
He is apparently the best of us, though. We have to accept that he is the king of us.
I would kneel to you, Christopher, but I do anyway because you're small. So
I would kneel for you, but I'm already on my knees for Lee.
So I wanted to discuss with you the issue of, obviously they reached the galactic barrier. The ship has been compromised. The crew, all but 4, have been turned into lovely dodecahedron sponges from Lush.
Well, before this, we see something where they they try to get through the barrier, okay? Because basically Spock and Scotty, they have a plan of on the planet.
Yeah, this is what I want to talk about. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
They have a plan of basically if we can get to Medbay, we can use McCoy's medical apparatus to basically put out a null field on the generator that they have put on the ship in order to make their paralysis thing work. And then they basically go, okay, cool, we'll do that. So they sneak Spock onto the ship, use it by him pretending to be ill. And then when Spock and Scotty get to the actual generator, they're like, oh, it's coated in that same thing the bars were made out of, so we can't actually penetrate it or get to its internals at all. And then they go, oh, well, actually, as a backup plan, we've made it so that the ship can just be blown up instantly by pumping positive ions into the thingy thing.
So the warp nacelles, I mean, this is quite cleverly, this was actually featured in Star Trek Picard. So I'm going to do a visual demonstration. So hello, I'm the Enterprise. So
it's a nacelle.
Essentially, these are the nacelles here. When they get to the galactic barrier is full of negative energy. So sort of, it's not antimatter, but it's like energy.
Anti-Betty or something, you know.
But when
one of those antis you don't really speak to that
when
much.
it comes into contact with actual positive energy, it will essentially, it's Becky from The Office, who is absolutely just miserable and is passive aggressive. So there is no Becky in real life, don't worry. But essentially, it will cause a cataclysmic explosion. Now, this for me was brilliant because we know up until this point in the original series that the Enterprise has got a self-destruct function. They can't activate that because the Kelvins are in control and they will know. So Scotty goes, well, if we flood these, this will cause a catastrophic explosion, kill everyone instantly. The Enterprise is gone, but the Kelvins never actually get out of the galactic barrier to send a message or reach the Andromeda Galaxy, which is like, it's a really clever way of unaliving yourself and protecting the Federation and the galaxy in general from this all-conquering empire.
Yeah.
So that is their plan. When they get to the galactic barrier, Scotty will open the control valves, which are which are there, as I know, right there. It will suck in the energy and all dead. But
which is a bit of a overreaction, possibly. But what we see though is that when they're getting to the barrier, it's a very tense scene where basically Spock is like looking at Kirk, being like, "Oh, when are you going to give the order?" Kirk's just going, "Oh, not sure what I'm going to do." And then and Scotty's sitting there with literally his finger over the button, a button that is glowing very mysteriously and beeping very loudly, and none of the Kelvins seem to be bothered by the fact of like he's just going. And they're just like, that's not suspicious at all, you know.
It's climate control, it's fine.
Yeah, it's just like, no, it's not a self-destruct button, even though I'm acting exactly like it would be.
But I pose to you, obviously as a Starfleet captain, as his ship is compromised and completely taken over, should he have destroyed the Enterprise there and then?
I think the thing is that no, like I personally think they shouldn't have because they hadn't exhausted every option. It's the idea of if they were in an unwinnable situation where they knew that they were not able to get out, then yes, they should have blown up the ship because it basically stops the Kelvins getting back, and also it kind of protects like Starfleet's property. However, they haven't exhausted. They've tried twice, basically. And like silly things like even Scotty later on in the episode goes, "Oh, I could probably try something else to knock out the generator," and you're just like, "Hang on, you hadn't exhausted all the possibilities before going, how about we kill everyone?"
So for me personally, and I did discuss this with you, I would have loved the fact, because we find out later in the episode that Rojan knows that they were going to flood the control valves on the nacelles to blow them up. So they already had they'd taken precautions to prevent that. So it would not have worked anyway. I think it would have been excellent television for the time to see a captain just go, do it. And Scotty pressed the button, because for the audience at the time watching that, they're going, because let's not forget, guys, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we didn't have the internet like we do now. So we didn't know that this was going to go on or this or whatever.
Yeah.
If Kirk had just went to Scotty and just nodded and Scotty had pressed it, can you imagine the tension on the audience going, is this the actual end? And then for it all to just go, and he presses it and nothing happens.
It would have been the perfect advert break. You know how they do it, where they press the button and then it goes to that.
Yeah.
That would have been absolutely perfect. But I think at the same time, there's probably, there was probably sort of effects that you couldn't have done. Like, as in, we couldn't have had a captain that willing to kill his crew. Like, it's one of those bad looks,
Jake's just commented, wah, wah, wah. Yeah. I think it would have been, for Star Trek, it would have been a very good scene to do that, because they're obviously expecting the end, their ship to blow up, and then just Rojan to just go, yeah, the control panels, we locked them, so you don't have that alternative to do that. Carry on.
I think it's this thing. I think maybe I think that probably happened in an earlier version of the script.
Yeah.
And then someone will have stepped in and said, no, Kirk needs to be the shining, like the hero. But
we've already seen him as a broken man.
Well, we validate this, where we have Kirk basically going, no, I won't kill my crew. We'll find a different solution, which is what he does. And then Rojan goes, oh yeah, like tells him later, like, oh, actually, I disabled it anyway. It wouldn't have worked. And then when McCoy is going, why didn't you do this? You could have ended this all early, like Kirk's just like, no, it wouldn't have done anything. And it does. It effectively goes, hey, Kirk made the right decision, even though it wasn't. But the episode is written that way in order to validate Kirk as a, and go, hey, Kirk's always right about everything.
Yeah.
Even when he's not, like we saw in the last episode we had with him.
So we are heading to the Andromeda Galaxy. There is a
I just want to say, I'm really annoyed, though. Like, we have the whole thing of the big plot hole that I think, because there's a few, but the biggest plot hole, I think, is that the whole plan that Spock has is to use the medical equipment to negate the generator by doing a different frequency, where he's basically going, hey, we can, like, stop it working. And then when he gets to the Enterprise, he's like, oh, I can't get their generator opening. And I was like, I didn't think that was the point. I thought the point was to keep their generator running and then do a field that negates it, like a dampening field or a sympathetic wave. And then it just seems to decide halfway through the episode, oh, actually, it's a different plan, and it just feels a bit weird. And then they go, oh, we can't actually penetrate this in order to, like, get inside it and pull some wires out. So we can't do anything. And obviously I'm just going, couldn't you teleport it? Like, if it's indestructible and it's made of a material that you can't get into, couldn't you just be like, it's in space now? Right, okay, we're outside of the field.
I justified that with the fact that they had beamed aboard the Enterprise using their own technology and completely disabled the transporter systems.
Yeah, but then again, couldn't they have put them back online? Even for a second, just to be like, fuck you. It's that idea, but I think the whole thing throughout the whole episode is like, you could have beaten them up. Like, it's very clear that you could have just punched them in the face and nicked the devices off them.
But as you say, we enter...
we have to suspend disbelief,
But as you say, we enter the sweet spot of this episode where it turns from terrifying...
High tension.
All hope is lost, high tension, to delicious comedy and passive aggression, and just Kirk being an alpha male. Kirk doing what Kirk does best, and he's just like, oh, I'm in an impossible situation, time to fuck. And it's just
and I quite like this because all of the characters get to play to their strengths, and it's wonderful. Like, it's this is the thing where I'm going, okay, I do not like Kirk as a character. I'm realizing that the more original series episodes we have, but it's great when he works as himself, like where he's in a situation where you're just like, oh, cool, Kirk can be Kirk, and it works. And this is exactly what happens here.
Yeah, because we see them in the mess hall, and McCoy pulls Kirk up, basically saying, "Why didn't you blow up the ship?" And he's like, there must be other alternatives. And Tomar walks in. They're all having something to eat. Tomar's just like, "Oh, you humans can consuming this bulk food." And McCoy just goes, "Well, if you don't like it, why don't you try it yourself?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think I will." So McCoy gets him some Play-Doh, as we call it, and I've actually put it as a note as a Play-Doh food.
I do quite like, because I continued watching after this episode. I watched like the next couple of episodes, including Spock's Brain, which was an episode that occurred.
It was
I
certainly
didn't think it was
something.
that bad, but wow, I didn't think it was as bad as everyone says. But at the same time, I was like, choices.
How do I gain knowledge? I simply put this hairdryer onto my head.
That's how it works. You put the knowledge hat on.
Then I need to spend more time.
Put the knowledge hat on.
I need to spend more time in the salon, not getting my tips frosted under the hairdryer.
Well, no, it's literally, it's the bit where, it's the bit where McCoy puts the thing on and then it just yells Slytherin. And you're just like, wait, what's this?
It's a 23rd century sorting hat.
Yeah, that's it. Gryffindor.
Discovery. Ooh. So.
Okay, hopefully we will get Spock's beard at Spock's brain at some point, because I actually think it's quite fun. I think it's quite fun. But actually, before we do this, I just want to point out this. The reason I was talking about this is in the future episodes, it has them getting food out, and it's the same thing. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if maybe all original series food is just this generic mop-a-top hair shop Play-Doh meal.
Well, it's a bit of a funny thing, because there is like chicken sandwiches and fruit, and then sometimes it's just Play-Doh cubes or fruit cubes. So what they actually did was they used like watermelon, sliced it, and then just diced it and cubed it. Because apparently in the future everything is in cube form. Again, Starfield has the same thing where everything is cubed. Do you want a burger? It's a cube. Do you want an apple pie? It is a cube. And I'm just like, dude, I want something.
It is a bit weird though that Tomar's just like, we don't need food. We just have these nutrient pills that we take.
We have mint Imperials.
All of our daily nutrients inside. And then McCoy's like, haha, you foolish person. You shouldn't be, you should try some proper food. And then just gives him like sort of.
I'm actually looking. I'm pretty sure I've got a tin of mint Imperials in my drawer. And I'm just...
Do they contain all of your daily nutrients?
I have cigarettes, and I have
you turned to smoking after putting that many?
No, it's just stuff I found that I need to get rid of, and I've got $15.
Oh my,
Lee,
can we put them in Lee's belt?
Lee, Mr. Lincoln.
Oh,
Mr. Lincoln, he says. 70 years ago, I saw Lee's 14-inch gut mangler. Right. Anyway, back on tangent over. But
I just want to say before we move on though, we've skipped over. I'm looking at my notes. We skipped over one of my favorite lines in the entire thing, because there's so many of them. It's basically when they decide, because it's quite scary. They get through the energy barrier. And Rojan's just talking to Kirk normally, and then just kind of goes, "Okay, cool. What's his name? Hena, begin the purge."
Yeah, this is where you see Kirk
and then Kirk's just like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, well, now that we've got through the barrier, you don't need any of your crew. We literally only need the 4 of you specialists, and everyone else can be killed." So they literally just start going around the ship, turning everyone into cubes.
But I had a theory about this. And it's actually, Kirk was wrong. This was the best possible scenario for the Enterprise crew, because we know that the crew can be compressed filed into a zip folder, and then they can be unzipped.
Yeah.
So, if you have got a 300-year journey, could you consider this to be cryostasis?
Yeah, kind of. Like I was gonna say, like, surely to survive 300 years, you would just pull a Scotty and put yourself in the transport buffer or something.
Yeah. This is the best thing for them. What I disagree with is putting all the lush bath bombs just leaving them where they are for 300 years.
Well, this is the wonderful thing about the episode, because it made me nervous. It made me really nervous. The whole fact of, like, you get to see Kirk wandering around the corridor, and there's all of these bath bombs, these, like compressed, members of the crew, and you could just step on them, and then they're dead. And that's the wonderful thing. That's why I thought the episode was so effective, because I was just like, whoa, I was genuinely tense at the idea that people could just die here. I mean, but my favorite line in the whole thing, well, second favorite line in the whole thing, is literally where Raynar just looks at Rojan just looks at
and
Uhura,
you slagged me off for Rohan.
I know. He just looks at Uhura and says, "We have no need for communication," which is exactly, which made me think of my ex, actually, because that's what he used to always say. But it was the idea of then turns her into a bath bomb, and you're like, that's Uhura. You can't turn Uhura. You can't kill Uhura.
But again, I had another theory about this, where he goes, "We have no need for communication." Surely, the first thing you do when you exit the galactic barrier, where no communications can be penetrated, send a message to the Kelvin Empire. She sends the message, and he goes, "Thank you. I have no use for you now." Bang, lush bath bomb.
Yeah, that would have been like quite scary.
That could have ended the episode, because I don't like the way this episode ended. I'm going to say that now. But much like the Enterprise episode with the Borg, they could have said, they could have dealt with this and said, but what of the communication with the Kelvin Empire? It will take 300 years to reach there. Our future generations will just have to deal with it. Boom. There you go.
That's it.
Leaves it open.
But I think the thing is with this episode is it's one of these wonderful episodes where basically there's a bigger picture. Like, you could make this into a two-parter without there being much filler, rather than like the motion picture, which you're basically going, this was just filler. So it's quite kind of good seeing it. But I do quite like, though, in the second part of the episode that we've gone into, where basically it turns into comedy, where they realize that because the Kelvins are actually human now, they've taken on human form in order to operate the ship and do this for some crazy plot-driven reason, that they're actually starting to have human tendencies.
Yeah.
And they don't understand it. They can't actually control it. So what each of the remaining members of the crew do is take a particular Kelvin as a project, not Drea, because fuck Drea, just leave her on the bridge flying the ship. And they basically put human vices on them to corrupt them effectively, because they can't beat them by strength, they can't beat them by like intellect or technology. So what they do is they turn the fact that they don't understand being human on them, and I think that is the most wonderful thing.
What I really love about this is it starts with Scotty, and the first thing that Scotty, and I mean, it could be considered, as he says, pouring a drink, it could be considered a slur, but I love the fact they were like, "What's Scotty? He's Scottish. He's drunk." Okay. So the first vice that they put onto the Kelvins is, "Oh, laddie, you want something to wash that down with? Bam, let's get Tomar drunk." And it's like, it's playing to... Scotty's an engineer, and he's a brilliant engineer, but it's like, he's Scottish, so he must drink. And again, going back to the next
an alcoholic.
But going back to the Next Generation episode, where they're just like, "Oh, they're travellers. Oh, they must be Irish," and he just like, ugh. And as a
I do quite like, though, Trek just being like, "Hello, stereotype. Let's perpetuate you."
But like I said on the Unplanned Trek podcast, I am half Irish. I am half Scottish.
Yeah.
This is offending.
There was no hope for you.
This is offending all of me.
You are drinking while saying this.
Yeah, I know, but la-di-da. But it starts with Scotty. And
what a horrible stereotype. But we don't drink all the time.
Her day is sorry, we're going into the fast show.
Go on, you dispel that myth.
is rather drunk. But it starts with Scotty, and this is like you said earlier in the episode, where it's a sweet spot, and it plays, but it doesn't only just play to the Kelvin's vices. It plays to every strength that the 4 remaining characters on the Enterprise have.
Yeah.
So you've got Scotty, rampant alcoholism. You've got McCoy. You've got McCoy, who just likes jabbing people. You've got...
I quite like, though, that McCoy's tactic is he takes Haynar and he basically just goes, "Oh, your human body's looking a bit peaky. Your readings are a bit weird. You must be ill. Well, in order to survive this journey, we need to get you some medicine." And then just starts injecting him full of stuff. And then basically injects him with drugs that'll make him more paranoid. And then he sort of gradually gets him more, like, spun up, basically.
I think what he injects him with is Red Bull. Because he's just like, "Oh, you need these vitamins and this taurine and stuff," and I'm just like, "Yep, full fat Red Bull straight into the arm." And then you've got
is that why Chapel earlier is just like, "What are you doing?" It's just like, you know, they
watermelon
I don't know what
flavor.
he asked for, but he's like, "Oh, you know, fill this with 10 cc's of such and such," and they're just like, "That's Red Bull." You know?
10 cc's of Monster Lewis Hamilton. But it's
Monster tropical flavor.
But
in his arm.
we've got Spock with the classic logical passive aggression, where he's just like, "Girl."
I have to say, I wrote a note about, where is it? Basically, Spock just being like a diva. Like, I quite like it.
But Spock is that diva on those reality shows where he's the one throwing the shade at other people.
I love it. Just Spock stirs the shit. Like,
really
the whole thing.
does.
He's just like, "Oh, do you know that?" You know, and it's a cool look, because obviously Spock doesn't lie. Like, no. Spock can't lie, and Spock is incredibly logical, but he does. We get to see a bit of a sort of devious Spock here, and I quite like it.
But Kirk plays to his strength, which is fucking. So.
I love it, though, where basically he takes Kalinda, not literally, but give him half a chance, and he basically just goes, "Oh, you know," he basically tries to seduce her, but the hilarious thing is that she kind of goes like, "Oh, are you trying to seduce me? I've read about this in your human books," and she's just like, "Go on then," you know.
I have read your Jacqueline Collins. I would like to know more.
I have read your, like, just Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey.
Would you like to see
a special one I found on the internet?
Would you like to see my red room? It's downstairs. The the other thing I wanted to mention, obviously, just a slight backtrack. Obviously, for exposition, we have a captain's log. Captain's log started 4658.
I wrote this down as well.
When did he have time?
I literally
and privacy.
Look at my notes. It says, like, when did he do this?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
because
the captain's log is just as they're about to go into the barrier and they're about to press the self-destruct button. He's just like, "Captain's log. We're on the bridge. We're about to press the button that could kill everyone." And then it's like, what?
No wonder Roger knew, because Kirk just sat there going, "Captain's
just recorded a log in front of everyone."
Captain's log started. What the fucking time is it? 4658 point. What's that? To 9. We're gonna blow the Enterprise up. Yeah, right, Rohan.
I love it that it's like, it's that sort of, okay, captain's logs might not actually happen. They're purely there for exposition.
Yeah.
But I wondered if it was like the ones you get on reality TV shows, because I got fooled by this. I got fooled by this, you know, like, because genuinely I never ever questioned it until we started interviewing people who were like on reality TV and stuff. And obviously I mentioned it to like Theresa May, and I was like, "How did you do it?"
Not the Theresa May, by the way, just a disclaimer.
No, Theresa May, the one we like, the Spanish one, who is on Drag Race vs. the World Series 2, which will be airing next Saturday, I think, which is very good. And yeah, basically, in these confessionals you get on shows where something happens in the episode and then it cuts to them sort of dressed in normal clothing being like, "Oh, I hope I win this one. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen next." And I was like, how do they? Why are they always wearing the same clothes? And do they? Why do they always know when to record these? And Chazza was like, "Are you fucking stupid?
Yeah.
Like we record these at the end of the show after everything has happened, and they go." Hey, could you just pretend that this is about to happen and react as though you didn't know you were going home?
That's how I justified this, where he's just like, shit, I haven't done a log in 4 days. Oh, change the clock. Captain's log said it. 4:09. And I'm just like, because it's literally the only way you could get away with that. But sorry, that was a quick tangent. But anyway, Tomar's getting pissed with Scotty.
I just love that I made exactly the same the same note.
So Tomar's getting pissed with Scotty, and he's going through. And I mean, I have serious questions of a Starfleet engineer that has a drinks cabinet like Scotty's. Now, I know the USS...
It's not a cabinet per se, when half of it is in a suit of armour.
I know the USS Adequate has a finely stocked cocktail bar, but that is what the Adequate is known as, the most alcoholic starship in Starfleet. But with Scotty, it's just like everything is all over the place. He does not have a bar. He does not have a globe with all the drinks cabinets in it. It's just literally... all over his quarters is secret stashes of booze, and I'm like, is Scotty just drunk all the way through the original series?
I think we get serious red flags of alcoholism, where it's just like, so obviously the rest of the crew have intervened. The rest of the crew have gone like, Scotty, you appear to be drunk on the job quite a lot, so you're banned from alcohol. And Scotty's like, yeah, totally fine. I'm not going to drink on the job at all. And
who drinks on duty?
Exactly.
Who
would do that?
Shit, I've dropped me lid.
Actually, I've got a bottle of wine just here, actually, left over from last week, I think.
Is that jam? Did that say jam?
Jam.
God damn, those unplanned trekked Australians.
Oh, jam shit. Oh, I love a bit of jam in my mouth.
I love a bit of jam.
Oh, I can smear it all over my tits.
You have tits? Oh no!
Tits.
Breaking news, guys! Breaking news, guys!
Are you out of passion fruit martini? Is that the bottom of the bar?
The bottle is empty. Oh no! Red alert!
Oh!
Can you imagine the Adequate? Can you imagine the distress call from the Adequate? Red alert! Mayday! Mayday! What's going on? Is a hull critical? No, we're out of martinis.
I actually love it. This is a massive tangent, but a movie I loved as a kid. Tell me in the chat if you've ever seen it. It's an anime called Project Echo, and it was basically manga, and it was great because I saw it before I'd seen any of the things it was parodying. So it was great. It's basically an anime that basically is just parodying other anime, basically, and it's hilarious. And it has a scene where basically the ship captain, this alien ship captain, is alcoholic and actually puts out a distress call because they ran out of booze. And it's hilarious because all the stuff that's happening where the alien invasion is kind of failing, and it ends up with just like him at the end being just mortal on the bridge and being like, "What? The booze is gone." I love that movie.
I said this to Synoiz a few weeks ago. And I know Joe, bless him, if he's still here, Joe. He pointed me in the direction of a model builder.
Up there with the angles.
Up there with the angles and Princess Di with her tartan. There is a model builder that does custom orders. So I'm looking at, when I get a little bit of money saved up, making an actual USS Adequate with lights and everything like that. But the one stipulation is that at the fore of the ship, where 10 forward would be, there will be a little tiny cocktail bar built into it because it has to happen. There has to be a cocktail bar. But I'm assuming Janeway has put one out when they ran out of coffee. Oh, distress call.
Yeah,
right.
Distress call, yeah. I think what we need is, though, we need that model, and we need it to be like a little shot of time where there needs to be like an actual rupture at one of the decks. And it's basically the hole in the ship, and then just all of these geese just flying out into space from it. Just paused. You know, just so it kind
Imagine.
of tells a story of what is going on.
Imagine if you could just get like, say, like if it's a big model and we get Shuttle Bay 1 and we just have like an open door and we see
Yeah.
Science Officer Synoiz in the Loxana snatch dress leading geese from the landing deck. That would be fucking brilliant.
Why did you do this? Science.
Science. But yeah, so I love the fact that Scotty, again, it's played to the Scottish stereotype, drinking someone under a table. Quite literally.
Well, I'm kind of concerned by this because actually I walked away with the opposite thing, which is basically what we see interspersed with all of it is we basically get to see the crew members slowly wearing the Kelvins down with their various vices and making them sort of succumb to the vices. And then we keep cutting to Scotty, and Tomar is getting gradually more drunk, and so is Scotty because he's basically drinking as well. But it's the fact that eventually Tomar does get knocked out by like falls unconscious because of like the booze. And then Scotty sort of goes, "Ha, we did it. It only took all of the alcohol I have in my entire quarters and this like really old bottle of whiskey, but we did it." And it's a funny scene. And then he basically takes the device off Tomar and then goes, "I best take this to the captain," and walks to the door and then immediately passes out. And it's so the plan kind of fails, which is this extra kind of comedy thing. But it's also the idea of going, hang on, you just out-drunk someone who has never, ever drunk before. Like, that's what I took away from it. Where I'm like, hang on, this alien has never even tasted booze and still stood up to a Scotsman.
But he had 100 tentacles.
It's pretty hentai.
I love
I will actually say, though, one thing about this scene, just mentioning it, this is possibly controversial, but it made me giggle when I thought about it, was the fact of Tomar passing out is some of the best bad acting I've ever seen. Because he just has the booze and then he's just like...
It's like an android.
It's like JFK on the Zabruda footage where he's just going like, oh, back and to the left. But, you know, it's just... I don't know, maybe that was what the impression he was going for. But...
One of my most favourite scenes in this episode is when Scotty goes to the back and he gets the bottle and he goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "It's green." And that's it. We don't know what it is. Is it absinthe? Is it Aldebaran whiskey? We don't know. It's green.
I can definitely relate to the idea of when you've got guests over, you work through the shit stuff first, and then at the end you go, okay, we'll get the decent stuff out.
Poor Science Officer Synoiz has been at the brunt, as many of the Nerdy Up North clan has been, at the brunt of me being so drunk when they go, "What are you drinking?" And I'm just like, "Yes!" And then I wake up the next morning quite literally passed out on the bathroom floor of my home.
Never a good look.
Never a good look.
Put a bed in the bathroom.
Someone was like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "It's 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm on the bathroom floor and all the lights are on. What did I do?"
What didn't you do?
Yeah, didn't drink water. That's what I didn't do. But yeah, so we see Kirk being the alpha male, where he's just like, "I'm sorry, I hit you. Where did I hit you? You hit me here. Oh," and he's just like.
I just love it because basically this is one of my favorite things about the episode is basically like he comes over and like sort of touches her and goes like, "Hey, is this where I hit you?" And she's like, "No, it was the other side." And he's like, "Oh yes," and goes around and then he kisses the other side of it.
We have HR in the Kelvin Empire.
They don't apparently. That's part of the problem. HR's been reduced into bath bombs now. But yeah, and then like kisses her, and then she's just like, and then he gets a full one on the lips. And then she's just like, "What is this? You know, this is, are you trying to seduce me?" And he's like, "Oh, I just want to apologize for, you know, hurting you." And she's like, "Is this how you apologize?" And he's like, "Yes." And then like later on, she's just like, yeah, she's like, "Oh, let me try." And I quite like this because it's quite female empowerment where she's just like, "I want to try again," and just like goes for him effectively. But then Rojan comes in and just goes, "Hang on, what's this? Why are you necking on with Kirk?"
Yeah.
And then it starts off this whole jealousy thing where Rojan is starting to develop human emotions. And he obviously has a thing for Kalinda. and basically starts getting gradually more paranoid and more jealous about her being curious about physicality with Kirk, which I think is quite good. But I do quite like the fact that Kalinda refers to kissing throughout the episode as apologizing because of this scene here.
But it plays it because Kirk and Spock are playing to their strengths together. So obviously Kirk is just like, what is my strength? Fucking. And then Spock is just like, what is my strength? Girl. So Spock's being honest. He's just like, oh, you know, where is Kalinda right now? And blah, 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 blah. What fell short for me? What fell short for me, though, was McCoy and Hannah.
Yeah.
Where it's just literally, I think they should have done more with McCoy for this one, where it's just like, I'm injecting you with Monster Lewis Hamilton. Why are you not that anxious?
I think maybe there's a missing scene where we get to see Hanar going apeshit. I think it needed a scene, okay, of basically sort of, you know, I think because the actor who plays Hanar is a bit sort of subdued the whole time. We get to see him a bit irritable, but we don't get to see him being like, what the fuck? Why is everyone doing it? Why aren't we there yet? You know, kind of thing. It should have had a scene where he just goes fucking nuts and they have to restrain him. And McCoy's just like, lols, pumped him full of drugs. Who'd have thought?
It's so weird. Do you know who he reminded me of? The actor who played Thingy in the Orville, the android in the Orville, who we met at Alnwick Castle. Do you remember?
Yes, we met doing Mr. Gay Great Britain.
He reminded me so much of him, but I just felt with that like little arc that we should have seen more paranoia and more of McCoy going, so Rojan is commander. How does that happen? I think you're much better at commanding because you've got the common sense. You sensed when Spock... do you know what I mean?
That's the great thing, though. The episode feels like there could have been more, rather than A, they stretched it, or B, it wasn't good enough to expand on. You know? And that's what makes it a good episode, I think.
Yeah.
But I do love, though, going back, Spock on the bridge with Rojan is just so funny, because it's him just being stirring the shit, and Rojan's just like, oh, have you seen Kirk? Oh, yes, he was in the recreation room. Alone? No. He was with Kalinda. You know,
I love this because this is office bullshit 101, where someone comes back from the break room.
Spock, no less.
Yeah, someone comes back from the break room and they're just like, I thought Kalinda, you know, and she was with Kirk.
He wasn't. He wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't do that. No, Kalinda wouldn't do that, would she?
Yeah, no.
And I love that, and it's just like, this is Spock being honest. Let's be, you know, he's being honest.
He is.
But he's being
that whole Vulcan bending the truth.
But
he's not lying, but
there's so much shade in it. He's just like, he is literally the wingman, where he's just like, girl. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love it, and then it all boils down to the fact that
I love the what gets said is you know, Rojan kind of goes like, oh, but I have power, you know, over Kalinda, you know, and then Spock turns to him and goes, perhaps Kirk has more. And it's just like, oh, you know, this idea of, because from the start, Rojan has been so confident about, we are the conquerors, we are the ones who are in control.
Yeah.
And effectively what he's realizing now is, whoa, he doesn't have power over his own people's emotions. He doesn't have power over their own feelings and personalities.
Because
he just has physical strength.
Yeah, because that the essence of humanity is starting to overwhelm him so much in a short space of time that we've disconnected again. Have we reconnected?
Oh, have we? I hope we haven't. What
is going on with the Wi-Fi? There we go. Hey, sorry about that if there was a cut off. So Rohan is like, the Kelvins have adapted to their human form, but the emotions which the Kelvin species have sort of renounced in their pursuit of like total, not total logic, but like strive for conquering and knowledge and everything
total
like
hentai.
that. Yeah, total hentai. Is overpowering them so much. I mean, he even alludes to this at the beginning of the episode when he's talking to Hannah, where he's like, you know, we are not used to these heightened senses and stuff like that. And within a few hours, that they are so in because he even smacks the armrest of the captain's chair in rage, and it just all boils down to let's just have a fist fight in the mess hall.
Well, I think that's what's great. But before we get that in the scene, we get a wonderful scene between Rojan and Kalinda, where Rojan kind of says, "Hey, I don't want you seeing Kirk anymore," and she's just like, "Fuck off!" She's like, "I shall do what I want," and he's like, "No, you'll do exactly as I tell you," and she's just like, and you can just see that the plan is falling apart effectively because of the manipulations of the Enterprise crew. And I think it's wonderful. But then obviously it ends with like her immediately going, "Hey, you don't want me seeing Kirk? I'm gonna go and see Kirk." And then he basically goes to I love it because she goes to Kirk and she's just like, about this sex stuff, I've done some supplemental reading on it. Would you please apologize to me again? Then they start necking on, which is the best chat-up line.
I've researched this thing called the Porn Hub, and and it's just like,
see the hentai.
Now, obviously, the brawl breaks out between Rojan and Kirk, and then it ends with Kirk just basically saying, "You don't." No.
It starts with Kirk slapping Rojan, which is hilarious.
Well, yes.
He literally just goes.
It's the classic Kirk maneuver, but I love the fact that the situation is completely diffused by Kirk saying, "It doesn't have to be this way. You can live your life. Why are you living the orders of a descendant 300 years ago? You could live your life as you see fit with Kalinda, and the Federation will help you." And then this is where we see Spock saying a robot envoy can be sent to the Kelvin Empire with the Federation's proposals and stuff like that. And I really have issue with the way that the episode ended, because for those that haven't seen the episode, it's literally Kirk is given back command of the Enterprise from Rojan. And the ship turns around, and that's it. They're going back to the planet where they settle, where Rojan admitted at the beginning of the episode he wasn't comfortable with because it was open space and everything like that. And I'm sort of like, I kind of wanted an extra scene after the ship is turned around where they're just basically, everyone's ready for the return to the planet, blah, 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 blah. But what of the signal that was sent to the Kelvin Empire? Just leave it open and allude to the possible return in the future.
I think the thing is, the episode is like humbled by the lack of time. It's very much the idea of going, there's so many extra little scenes you could have put in to make things better. And at the end, the fact it just kind of ends with Rojan being like, "Oh, well, I guess we're human now. We best do human stuff. Okay, then let's give up on our trying to get home and just find a planet to settle down on." And you kind of like, and that's kind of cool, but I would have liked it said in more words. I would have,
I also would have loved, like, towards the end, like, because the original series loved a comedic climax. We know that. Pop, 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 pop. Do you know what I mean? With Kirk, Spock.
Speaking of comedic climaxes, highly.
Hi, Chris. I would have loved, like, everything returned to normal, the heading back to the Milky Way galaxy, blah, blah, blah. I would have loved to end this episode, obviously with the signal and everything like that, but then Scotty just turning up to the bridge going, "Sir, I've retrieved the device." And it's just like, Scotty, that was 3 days ago.
Yeah, no, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah. Do you know, and just to end the episode, like, he got that drunk that he was out for days. Yeah, he would have been out for days.
Literally just had a last scene of him doing the captain's log, being like, the Kelvins are resettled on a planet. The Kelvins are resettled on a planet, and they're all sorted. We're heading back to sort of Earth now and stuff. And then Scotty comes in, being like, "I got the device. We can beat the bastards now."
Scotty, that was 3 days ago.
That would have been fucking perfect. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. On the whole, though, I think me and Science Officer Synoiz truly love this episode. It was a great episode of the original series, and I think it does leave the door open for further investigation, because I think we are both big fans of yes, we like to explore strange new worlds and seek out new civilizations, but there is also so much within Trek canon that is yet to be explored. And this is
Yeah.
one of the original series episodes where you, like Discovery did with The Guardian of Forever, this is one where you could dip into this and you could really go into this in the 26th, 27th century, 29th century and go, oh shit. Yeah.
I'm putting it out there that this will appear in Lower Decks. There is no
Really?
way that those people are going to be able to resist, like, having the Kelvins in and basically going, okay, so they have a paralyzing weapon that nobody has ever used before and could totally be a plot device. Like, because you could just literally have someone stealing this weapon and going on a rampage with it because it's so powerful. But then also, they are tentacle hentai beasts masquerading as humans.
But with
like,
today's
that
technology,
says Lower Decks all over it.
but with today's technology, even without Lower Decks, you could still show them as their true form.
I'd say, but I mean, like, that's how I see them continuing.
Yeah,
the Kelvins. Like, I'm fully expecting that to occur, or at least get a little reference somewhere.
So, would you recommend this episode of the original series?
Definitely. Like I said right at the beginning, this kind of took the taste out of my mouth that Requiem from Methuselah like put in there. I can't pronounce it. I'm telling you off for saying Rohan, and then I'm like Methuselah. Yeah, Requiem from Methuselah.
And I'm the one that's been drinking. Yeah, I think this is a really strong season 2 episode. It was towards the back end of season 2. It just leaves a lot of doors open, and maybe in the future we'll hear more about the Kelvin Empire. So yeah, I really enjoyed the episode.
I have to say, like, I really love the Kelvins, which obviously we need to get onto the results of the poll now. But it's the idea of one of my favorite things, though, is like the main Kelvin guy, Rojan. For the whole episode, he just reminded me of an actor, and I spent ages working out who this actor is because he's one of those people who's in loads of stuff, but you never actually know his name. And his name is Udo Kier. Like, you might know him from Shadow of the Vampire or whatnot, and he's always got this very stoic German kind of face, and and you can just fully imagine him with the eyeliner that the Kelvins have on and stuff. And yeah, and throughout the whole episode, I was like, I love this vibe. I love the vibe of the characters and how I loved Kalinda. I have voted on the poll for Kalinda. So if there is one vote for Kalinda, that is me and possibly Nerdbot.
So
who knows what side Nerdbot?
Everybody out there, we did a poll on the Nerdy Up North Twitter and the Nerdy Up North Discord channel. Who was your favourite Kelvin? So we had Rojan, the Kelvin leader. We had Kalinda, Kirkbait. We had Hanar, walking anxiety. And Tomar, the walking alcoholic. So,
which should have been slumping alcoholic, if we're perfectly honest.
True. So, with a massive 50% of the votes on Twitter, Tomar came out victorious as the walking alcoholic. What was it on Discord?
Do I know? Hold on. How to scroll? How can scroll?
How to Discord?
I don't know. It won't let me see the results.
Everything on Discord is mute.
Yeah, no, it's the same. It is 50%. Well, we have basically we have it's I'm just trying to work out how to read it. Tomar has 50% of the 40% of the votes, and then 20% of the vote is Kalinda, which is me and Nerdbot apparently, so I don't think that counts. And then one vote for the other two.
Hooray for alcoholism!
Which is quite odd because I wasn't that fussed by Tomar. Like I really liked Kalinda because she's a fleshed out character. She's a villain, but then she has all these little scenes where she basically just kind of goes, "Oh, I'm really interested in that, and can you tell me about this? I am going to kill you, but I'm kind of curious about this." Like, so the name of the episode, which I think the episode is kind of badly named because I didn't understand how it played into the whole episode. But yeah, it has a scene where basically Kalinda is looking at the planet and she just gets these flowers and she's like, "These are really pretty. What are they called?" And he's like, and Kirk's like, "Flowers. Don't know the variety. Fucking girls shit." And then she basically sort of goes, "Oh, on my planet we have loads of these, and they are called, what does she say?
Crystals.
On my planet they are called like Cerebrus or something.
Oh,
Oh no,
Shashir.
which is like a thing.
Yeah.
And then Kirk goes, "Oh, a rose by any other name," and then goes, "Oh, that's our Earth poet Shakespeare. A rose by any other name would not smell so sweet, I believe it is." But he fucks up the line. But and then crumples them, and I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't. So he's going, "Hey, on your planet you have flowers, but they're not the same as Earth flowers." I don't know. I don't get how that line ties in with the plot of the episode. Is it that they're masquerading as humans, and therefore, by any other name, Kelvins, they're not the same as humans, even though they're trying to.
It's sort of a play, because Spock alludes when they're in captivity that they are humans, but they're also too perfect to be humans. It's also they've masqueraded so well that it's too odd that they are the way they are. Do you know what I mean? Like a rose by any other name wouldn't smell as blah blah blah. So that's sort of the justification for the name of the episode. Because they have masqueraded themselves as humans, but they are all too perfect to actually be humans. Do you know what I mean? Where, it's sort of like, oh, you have no ailments, you have no diseases, you have no quirks or anything like that. You are literally a perfect specimen, which should not exist in nature naturally. So
Tomar wins the poll though. So yeah,
Tomar wins the poll. Speaking of poll, oh my days, we have got an incoming transmission, Science Officer Synoiz.
I have to say to everyone, I'm really excited about this because I know in the chat we've been saying, hey, we've had too many. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
We've had too many episodes from the original series. So what I've done is I fixed the Dabo Wheel, basically. I know people have been asking this, so I fixed the Dabo Wheel now. We have removed the original series from it temporarily, so that will not be coming up. And we've increased the likelihood that we're going to get an Enterprise episode to keep Goodwill happy. So fingers crossed. I mean, I'm pretty sure I worked very hard on this, and I'm pretty sure that, I'm pretty sure I've got all of the bugs and kinks out of it.
Also, Treks and Trekkers out there listening to Trekking Up North, if there is a Star Trek Enterprise episode for next week, rest assured that Captain Goodwill will sing Faith of the Heart next week before he does the opening monologue, because goddamn, I love Star Trek Enterprise.
On that note, Sabrosa. On that note,
in all seriousness, what are you hoping that the Dabo Wheel produces?
That isn't Code of Honor. I'm kind of hoping. Obviously, always DS9, and I watched a great episode of DS9. It's the one where Worf is on trial. You know the episode where they put Worf on trial?
Yeah.
For what is it? Where he blows up like a civilian transport and whatnot, and it's basically a courtroom episode. Who would have thought a courtroom episode was great in Trek?
We love a courtroom episode in Star Trek.
But that's what I'm hoping for. But obviously, in my heart, I actually think,
does your
there
heart
could
have
be
faith?
I have faith of the heart that there could be, that this could be the week that we get Code of Honor or Sabrosa.
See, I'm worried now. I'm worried now because he's looking down and I can hear keyboard taps.
Yeah.
So I'm worried he's changing the algorithm. So it's going to be a Crusher
as if
episode.
Would you really think that I would do something like that?
Yes. Shall we spin the episode?
The trust, the lack of trust you have in me. I've been your science officer for days at least.
Right, for those playing at home who have never seen Trekking Up North, the Dabo Wheel of Episodes has every episode of Star Trek in existence in it. We spin that wheel, and whatever it lands on, we review in next week's Trekking Up North. Are you ready, Science Officer Synoiz?
I'm ready.
Are you ready in the audience? There's a delay, so I don't care. 3.
Are you all ready to yell Dabo?
Yes, you have to yell Dabo at the end. 3, 2, 1. Oh my god. I hate the anxiety. What the hell? Yes!
Dabo!
Yeah! Yes! Yeah!
Would you like to explain to the audience who are listening on the audio what just happened there, Goodwill?
Right, firstly, my pants fell out. The Dabo Wheel span, and all I saw was Code of Honor and Sub Rosa. So
they were the only options available in the entire Dabo Wheel.
Many poos have just come out. However, it has landed on Star Trek Enterprise. I'm going to do it. There we go. Star Trek Enterprise Cease Fire. Oh my god. If memory serves, this is a brilliant fucking episode. Let me get the synopsis up. Oh, just for
everyone
happy.
watching, it was fixed. But the episode it was fixed to land on Enterprise, but because I knew Goodwill really wanted it. But the episode was entirely random, so I had no idea what episode of Enterprise it would land on.
Ceasefire. Captain Archer is invited to negotiate a ceasefire treaty between the Andorians and the Vulcans at the personal request of the Andorian commander Shran. It's not only a Star Trek Enterprise episode, it's a Star Trek Enterprise episode with Jeffrey Combs! Yes! I'm so fucking happy!
Oh, we can finally talk about one of my favourite Trek characters, Dr. Phlox.
Dr. Phlox, Commander Shran.
Is this?
He's in every goddamn episode, I think.
Oh, good old Porthos.
Computer transfers to the main screen. Thank you. Oh, I'm so happy I'm going to cry. I really am. It's season 2 as well, and it's just before the theme tune changed. I'm so fucking happy. Guys, everyone, you need to watch Star Trek Enterprise. It is brilliant. It was cancelled way before its time. The last episode doesn't exist. Just brilliant. And this is such a good episode as well. It's so fucking good. Sorry, excuse my French. But I am so
That's
happy.
Not French.
I am so happy.
Le Fouque.
I'm so happy.
We finally got it. So yes, so tune in next week, next Friday, and we will be reviewing Star Trek Enterprise Ceasefire. I'm excited. Because I was worried that it might come up with a season 4 one, because I was a bit meh with Enterprise
season
by the time
4
it got
was
to season 4.
incredible. What are you on about?
I was just meh by it. But season 1 and 2, I'm very happy with.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers worldwide, this has been this week's Trekking Up North. This is possibly the most fun I have had in a long time, and I am so grateful to do this show with Science Officer Synoiz. Wow, what a roller coaster ride this has been, man.
I think it's been really fun. If you haven't watched this episode yet of the original series by any other name, check it out. It's on Netflix. It is a great episode. If you've enjoyed us talking about it and the silly descriptions of things, then please give it a watch and then join in on the discussion and tell us on the Discord or on the X or on the Twitters or whatever the fuck it's called nowadays. Tell us what you thought of it. That would be quite fun. And watch this episode of Enterprise, and then you can join in on the discussion next week. Le sausage.
If you like this episode, please give us a like on the YouTube channel. Give us a comment. Tell us what you thought.
We've only had 3 likes on the video, have we?
No, we've had way more than that.
Just YouTube just hasn't updated. We've had 40. That's quite a lot. That is. That's low.
If you have any opinions about by any other name, put them in the comments below. If you are not a fan of Nerdy Up North and want to get to know more about us, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Twitch, we are on TikTok, we are on Instagram. Any social media platform, we are on there. You can find us on all the descriptions below. You can find Synoiz on Twitch. You can find him on Girl Chat. What are you doing tonight?
Go Global. What am I doing tonight? I'm meant to be streaming, okay? Honestly, I'm meant to be streaming, but I'm really tired. Like I don't mind saying, I don't mind saying, okay, that I've had a really difficult week for
You
a lot
have
of stuff.
indeed.
There's been a lot of crazy shit at my work. There's been a lot of crazy personal life stuff. So I haven't been getting much sleep. I've been doing that thing where your brain wakes you up at 5 a.m. and just goes, that's it. That's all the sleep you get. And then you have to do a full day of work, which has been very difficult. So I'm actually exhausted. I'm genuinely exhausted. And so I'm afraid I'm going to sack Twitch streaming off for tonight and just go to bed.
Get some well-earned rest.
But I will.
do the
There is
same.
actually a thing. On Sunday, I will be streaming on Sunday daytime because on the nighttime, Nerdy Up North are reviewing RoboCop. And I don't know if I'm meant to be on it. I don't think I am. I don't know. I will check with Paul and go.
Dead or alive, you're coming with us. That's all I'm going to say on
Oh, it's the problem is though, I'd ruin it because I would just talk for hours and not let anyone else speak. So it's probably good if I'm not on it. But during the daytime, me and Ian are going to test out the new Silent Hill game. Because once again, if you remember, if you're a fan last year, me and Ian did a 24-hour gaming stream for charity raising funds for St. Benedict's Hospice last April, I believe it was. We're going to do the same this year in this April. So we need to test out some of the technology. So we want to basically go, hey, can we stream the PlayStation 5 through the PC into Twitch? And so we've got all the adapters and the equipment. So we're going to try it out by playing the new free Silent Hill game that's just come out on the PS5. And we're going to, if that works, we will be streaming that for you all on Twitch. So give me a follow on the link below in the description and join in on that.
We will be back next week as we review Star Trek Enterprise
It's been a long road.
Until next week, my lovelies, take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Live long and prosper, and we will see you next week.
Apologize to me, Lee. Apologize to me hard.
Miles.
Miles.